Welcome to Startups on Demand, sponsored by New York Tech Media. Today I've got the awesome Yuval Samet, co-founder and CEO of RiseUp on the show. Yuval, thanks for taking the time to do this.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Awesome. So tell the audience a little bit about your backstory. You have a really interesting one.
Yeah, so it depends how much time we have, because we can go back to the childhood in the fantastic town of Petah Tikva. But I grew up in I would say a common 80s childhood in Israel. The nation was struggling with inflation, maybe like today. So the financial hardship was quite common, and definitely at home we felt it as well. We are three brothers with two amazing parents that really invested everything they had and did not have in order to make sure that we are not really dictated by our future was not dictated by the neighborhood we were born at. And we are really we've become the masters of our own trajectory, through my parents' education, really learned how everything is possible when you work hard, and how creativity is an important tool to be able to achieve everything you aspire to achieve. And the three of us have become, over the years, financial services entrepreneurs. My brothers are the co-founders of a company called True Accord, helping Americans get out of debt. And it seems like we all, from the same greenhouse, become very enthusiastic about financial growth. I served in the Israeli military, became the technologist I am. In 2010, started a company called Analyzed. It did not exist for a long while because Klarna came in and acquired the company. I became the head of product of Klarna, and my brother was the chief risk officer. And we helped Klarna battling risk issues it had back in the days. And later on, I built the product management team over there. And I really feel I had the opportunity to play in the NBA of financial services in this context, and really got a fantastic experience over there, learning everything about retail banking, about payments, and how people think about money. Throughout the years, I've become really enthusiastic about social impact and building businesses that are very profitable and very purposeful. So in 2016, me, my wife, and our kids came back to Israel in order to start the next thing. And it was clear to me that I wanted to build a company inspired by Muhammad Yunus, how to build a world without poverty, leveraging technology and brand and world-class product management in order to improve people's lives. I met Tamara and Iftach, my co-founders. We started looking into different problems to solve. And for us, it was obvious that the way people think about money, the question, what is my money status and how can I improve it? And if I manage to improve it, how can I build a better financial future? Those are questions that are extremely hard to answer. And we wanted to help people to answer them in a very scalable way. And it was basically the seed that has become RiseUp over the years.
That's amazing. That is super interesting, and also really, amazing story that you kind of grew up, in a certain economic landscape and kind of, changed that trajectory and kind of optimized that trajectory together with your brothers, which is super rare that all of you guys, got into this space. This is super amazing. So we're going to touch RiseUp a little bit later in the conversation. Sure. I want to ask you, what did Klarna do for you? Being, like you said, an MBA of Fintech. And I used to be a basketball player, so I definitely like this kind of comparison. You've been in the NBA of Fintech. You've been next to maybe, the Steph Curry of Fintech, which is Sebastian, the CEO, really outspoken guy. What did you learn in Klarna? What did that do for you personally, professionally?
Wow, the lessons are, we need 3 hours of conversation in order to cover everything. I think that, I learned so much about how user experience is the most important thing when it comes to money. I remember speaking to an executive at PayPal many years ago. And he told me that they were very frustrated at PayPal comparing their user experience to Klarna's user experience. And it is really important, and I'm speaking about Klarna, of quite a few years ago already. The atmosphere that Sebastian created at Klarna was, and I believe that still is, that user experience is the most important thing. Then comes risk management, then compliance. It doesn't mean that Klarna doesn't care about compliance. It just means that Klarna will do everything in order to make the customer experience smooth and frictionless and so on. And when you compared it to PayPal back in the days, PayPal was all about risk management, compliance, and then user experience. And when I speak about it with people, people do not appreciate how a DNA of a company is designed by this type of principles, because everybody at Klarna was ecstatic about user experience. And I think that this is a very deep lesson I learned. Never compromise on the user experience and do everything possible in order to optimize for a frictionless experience, because it makes the difference between, creating a product that helps people making ends meet in a delightful way to, making people work extremely hard on a PFM that nobody really wants to use. So that was an amazing lesson I learned. Another thing I learned from Sebastian is how important a relationship with investors. The relationship is super important, and how to manage the relationships with investors. I think that Sebastian has done an amazing job, building relationships with investors around the table, and with Mike Moritz and other fantastic investors that are a core part of the company. And I was inspired by that, and I try to do the same over here at RiseUp to really bring in our investors to be our partners around the table. And I think that Sebastian is a very brave person. We've never been limited by anything. I mean, in his perspective, everything was possible for the reals. I mean, coming from Sweden, building the first alternative rails for credit card payments, this is very bold. And many times when I find myself doing a bold move at RiseUp, I know where did it come from. Of course, a part of it is my personality, but definitely spending 6 years with Sebastian was super important. And I think that the one last thing was that was reinforced at Klarna. Teamwork was always a big thing for me. And I think that at Klarna, being a part of the leadership team, being a significant player to build the teamwork among the leadership team of Klarna over the years, I think that it really reinforced how brilliant teamwork was important for global growth. So I think that working together, shoulder to shoulder with my friends over there and with Sebastian himself as a team, really accelerated Klarna and created the behemoth that it is nowadays. So many lessons. This what comes to mind when I speak about it intuitively.
Amazing. And it's interesting because Sebastian also comes from a background that it's a little bit similar to yours. They were you weren't an immigrant, but he was an immigrant, and they kind of struggled. And then he kind of, changed that trajectory. So that's super interesting.
His hardship was definitely present, and he definitely spoke about it. And I think that we connected around that. You can. I'm not going to try and analyze it psychologically, but I definitely understand why a son of immigrants is, has those aspirations to be successful and never stops. Even when the company is quite big globally already.
Love it. Always moving forward, always thinking about the next thing and like moving the goalposts even further. How does that help you and kind of design the way you kind of measure goals, specifically in RiseUp right now as you're the CEO?
Matter of, it doesn't connect directly to that, I must say. I do think it really connects to our culture, to my own culture. It always feels like there is a bigger goal we want to achieve. And I must say that, reflecting on it as a leader, I think that sometimes you need to be able to stop and say, hey, what we just did is actually magnificent. I need it. People around me need it. And you know how in Sparta, they used to send the teenagers to bring back a wolf from the forest. And sometimes I feel like, the top performing people in the company, they go out, they bring back a wolf like in Sparta, and I tell them, hey, this is a puppy, go bring a bigger wolf. And I need to stop and actually reflect on it and and make sure that I take a moment to admit to myself that we actually achieved something great and big, and it is one small step in the road to achieve our big vision, of making it easy for anyone to enjoy financial well-being. And this fantastic mission of ours is actually built from thousands of small changes. And, when you start thinking about it and you start enjoying the small steps in the road, I think it is super meaningful for the company as well. Because if you are the type of CEO that is never, I would not say happy, I don't think it's about happiness, but, a CEO that never says that something is great, then it is really demotivating for the company. So you need to make sure that you take a moment, and sometimes you need to write it on a piece of paper with a pen, and also say thank you to people in a deep way over very specific things we've managed to achieve, in order to take a moment for yourself and take a moment for the person that you work with. Now I understand how important it is, and I think that Klarna is never happy. And I think that maybe it changed over the years, I don't know, but I think that in order to be resilient, you need to learn how to be happy, not complacent, but definitely happy with achievements. So this is something I'm trying to bring into the DNA of the company that doesn't come naturally for me.
Love it. I love it. And it is super important. I even see it with my staff that, once, because if you don't tell someone he did a great job, if you don't have a certain metric to say, okay, guys, we did a really good job here, then it's like a never ending story. And then you get burned out, right? Because it's never ending. You need to have some sort of thing. And oftentimes when you say it, when you tell someone, hey, this is great, he doesn't get complacent. He only has more motivation for the next thing, right?
Absolutely. And, I think that being a startup CEO and a founder, you always fight the endless amount of tasks, the endless amount of potential, the endless amount of problems. But not everyone needs to fight, the eternity all the time. You need to help people kind of understand their sphere of influence and be happy when they manage to impact it in a significant way. Although, you already see around the corner and you know that the next challenge is coming. So this is definitely a significant growth area of mine, and I'm really trying hard to become better at that.
Love it. Okay, so this actually leads me to my next question, which is a bit more tactical, right? So you're super busy, man. You work super hard. RiseUp had a major launch in Israel, and you guys just came in with a major marketing campaign, and you guys are going to probably expand soon to other areas. And there's a lot on your plate, obviously. How do you actually manage your day-to-day? Like, how do you do that? Like, what are the tactics? I know you have an assistant. Like, how does it work? Like, how do you do that?
So it's always work in progress, because if you want the company to grow 10x, at least, you need to grow 20x. So I've been coached by, a business life coach for many, many years, Giora Privas, a person who I owe a lot to. And recently, I'm coached by Avi Charkam, who is a fantastic startup founders coach. And you need to take the moment. This morning, I spent an hour with Avi talking about, the current things I need to deal with. I'm a super focused guy, and I'm on top of my calendar. So I manage my calendar in a way that is really prioritized. It is back to back too much, and I don't have enough headspace, but I control my destiny through my calendar for sure. I think that in order to be able to invest your time in the most important places, you need to first of all understand what is your role in the company. And the role changes over time, and you might be confused at times because what you did like 3 months ago is no longer your role today as the CEO of the company. So in my perspective, it is always important to understand who can be accountable instead of myself for the most important things. Usually the things that you want people to be accountable for are the things that you can actually mentor them on. So those are the things that you are best at, which makes it harder to let it go. So there is this dissonance that you need to deal with all the time. So I'm a teamwork guy, I mentioned before. So in my perspective, you always need to work on building the teams that you can actually route stuff to and mentor them on, in order to make sure that you don't need to hold everything, on your shoulders that are quite slim. It doesn't matter how talented and experienced you are. So fantastic teamwork, a fantastic leadership team that we've built the last few months to lead the company forward. I always look at the things I need to be responsible for and accountable for, and try to move them to someone else and mentor them and support them in becoming great in the thing that I do quite well. I wake up really early every morning, and I'm a hard worker. I think it is my #1 feature. This morning I actually did something that is very important. So in order to do the next leap as a company, we believe that the ones who are leading our squads need to become better at strategy. And in order to become better at strategy, I need to spend time with them. So during the coaching session this morning, I actually blocked all my Wednesdays from January 1st, and now we call them leap days. I'm going to spend a day with each one of the squad leads, the product managers or the business developers or whoever, in order to make sure they understand the strategy and they become the owner of the strategy of their own domain. So, it's an ongoing optimization. It's an ongoing work in progress. I can say that whatever works for me for a couple of months is going to become very different soon because the challenges are changing. So, yeah, I think that, it's a long answer for a short question. But this is how I deal with stuff. I'm not, I cannot say that, I'm like one of those Navy SEAL story of, wake up every morning at 4 a.m., do your sports. It's a struggle. Even if you have high self-efficacy, waking up early, doing the sports you need to do to remain sane, and, running through your tasks and being the father I would like to be and the spouse I would like to be. It puts a lot of stress on your schedule and your tasks list. So I am a human being who is a very hard worker and manages his schedule really well. I think that those are the very simple things that I do well in order to be the leader I would like to be.
So that's, first of all, it's a long answer, but it's a really important answer with a lot of value. I think a tremendous amount of value in this answer. The answer itself can be a podcast by itself by the amount of value you just gave. I want to ask I want to go even more specifically because I'm super interested in this kind of stuff. So you manage most of your day, you said, through your calendar. Do you also have a to-do list app that you use, a specific app that helps you? Which one is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I use Asana for the tasks. I have my own personal board, which I groom quite often. And I use the schedule and block time for specific tasks. You need to know what is your, best moments of the day. So usually when I need to build, for instance, an important presentation, an investor speech, I do it very early in the morning, like 4 a.m. is my best hour of the day.
Wow.
So I plan towards that. I'm not a night guy. I mean, if I need to crack, a tough nut, it will never happen around midnight. I prefer waking up really early, do the sports, take the shower, and then dive into the task. So that's what works for me. I groom my tasks list quite a lot, quite a few times a day, in order to be sure that I'm always on top of the most important things. I can say that I clean up my inbox. It's not zero inbox. It is really, really hard to live according to that. But between Slack and WhatsApp and my email, I try to convert messages into tasks on my Asana board and prioritize between them. I can say that one thing that we do really well over here at RiseUp is to identify what type of content should go through what channel. We use Workplace very intensively. Workplace is the Facebook for organizations. Whatever requires a deeper asynchronous conversation about content or a topic or a new discovery or whatever, we do it on Workplace, and then the conversation is threaded and is much easier to save for later. And Facebook is quite good at content curation and floating in your feed what's the most important thing you should read. So it works really well for us. So the noise over email of stuff that you need to act on is quite low. And whatever we need to interact, whenever we need to interact instantly, we do it over Slack. So I try to be very organized in my communication, and it works for me quite well with Asana and so on.
Nice. What in terms of meditation, you mentioned a lot of stress. Do you meditate at all?
So my wife is a yoga teacher and a reflexologist, and for many years I did my vinyasa 21 minutes every morning. I must say that during the last year or so, I stopped. It's very interesting to understand why. Maybe I have not had the headspace even to meditate. But this is definitely something that I feel like doing again. But you also need to respect the fact that life is like like a graph, like a sinus. It's not like a linear thread, and I respect the cycle during life, and I'm sure that I will go back to meditation again. So usually I run, I cycle a lot, and it's somewhat of a meditation for me as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about RiseUp. Tell us a little bit about RiseUp in terms of the product. I know just FYI, most of this audience is of the show are investors and entrepreneurs located in the Israel-United States intersection. So there's probably a lot of people who are going to watch this who don't know what RiseUp is. And just some context for the audience, I don't think there's a single person in Israel that doesn't know who RiseUp is. So tell us a little bit about RiseUp and your vision and what's the mission.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we wanted to build a company that is highly profitable and highly purposeful. My heartbeat is social mobility. I want to make sure that kids that grow up in a certain zip code, their trajectory is not going to be dictated by that, but they will evolve, develop, grow according to their self-efficacy. And in order to build self-efficacy, which is not something that people are born with solely, I think that they need meaningful adults in their lives. And in order to have your parents as your meaningful adults, they need to enjoy financial well-being. It's not about buying the yacht. It's about, having the baseline, being able to make ends meet in the way that you would like to make ends meet. So this is the problem domain. Nowadays, people do a lot of crazy stuff like eating kale, quinoa, standing on their head, jumping into icy baths in order to reach well-being, But people do very little in order to achieve financial well-being. And this is the domain. We believe that there is a financial well-being revolution, and we are in the front of it. Our mission is to make it easy for anyone to enjoy financial well-being. We make it easy. And when I say we, it means a community of people that make it easy for the whole audience. To put it in very simple terms, people ask themselves questions all the time when it comes to money. What is actually my money status? Most people don't know. What can I do to improve the situation? Most people have no clue. And if I manage to improve the situation, how can I build a better financial future? So RiseUp deals with all of that. We are an open banking, a native open banking app that connects to the bank account information and credit card information, slice and dice it, and provide you a very simple view of your money, a predicted cash flow, how much money you have left until the end of the month that you can actually spend on discretionary expenses. In addition to that, we are a native WhatsApp player, which means that we send you push notifications, nudges over the week that help you be on top of your money. Those two things are crucial in order to put a person on the right path, to identify what is she or he are concerned about when it comes to money, and make them confident about it. You can think about RiseUp as a switch machine. We help people convert concern after concern to something they are confident about. And in order to do that, we have a huge community of almost 50,000 people that grow financially together. They support each other. You can observe people like you being successful with money. So it makes you motivated to do the same. So we have dozens of thousands of paying customers, and it is growing really well in Israel. And we are launching in the UK and Spain nowadays because we see the problem that is global. There is a global trigger called cost of living. People are concerned about cost of living globally. By the way, when we ran significant surveys with hundreds of people in all those markets, we realized that Israel is actually the worst market to start a company in. Because most people in Israel are really not worried about money as you would imagine they should be. But in the UK, in Spain, in the Netherlands, people deal with it on a day-to-day basis. They are much more worried. And another thing is the open banking regulation that is becoming a global regulation. You are the owner as a consumer of your personal financial data, and you are the one that can choose who to share the data with. So this is why we believe there is a huge global opportunity, and this is what we are doing globally now.
Amazing. So I have a few questions about the product itself. When are you guys going to open it up for company accounts? Because right now it's more in the private sector, right? It's more, you know, and I actually wanted to connect it to our company. And it basically told me that it's not suited for that. So
yeah, so I think that the next interesting audience is freelancers, gig workers, people that really struggle with predicting their income. And this is a more obvious target audience for us. So companies usually, when there are aspects of a business plan and account receivables and this type of stuff, I believe that other tools are required in order to manage the cash flow of a company in a brilliant way. And there are many different solutions that cover different, links in the value chain for companies. This is not something we are going to do soon, although I know that there are a bunch of small companies that use RiseUp because it gives them a good solution. So we are not going to do it anytime soon because we must be focused, it is like. So we deal with the private side of managing the cash flow, managing your household's cash flow, where there is tremendous value for private people. And also, if you're a freelancer, we will manage the private side of your cash flow as well.
Amazing product. I'm super excited to see, once you guys launch it in, English speaking nations. That'll be really awesome. I know you've been you've been super helpful with your time and really dedicating time for this interview. I have 3 more questions that are more short, probably.
Yeah.
But just to kind of finalize it, I think that'll be interesting. So the first one, what other entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that you kind of look up to? And you can tell me, hey, I don't care about anyone else, but what's your answer?
No, I mean, I really appreciate skills and proficiency. I think that Shai and Daniel from Lemonade are amazing storytellers and product builders that really understand the power of a brand. So I definitely look up to them. And it's quite funny because all of us, we know each other and we talk quite often. So people I'm going to mention are actually, some of them are close friends of mine. So sorry for not mentioning all the friends because I'm trying to keep it short. Another brilliant person that I really admire is Ron Gura from Empathy. I think that, dealing with death and loss is such an important thing for us as a society, and doing it with brilliant storytelling is something I really adore. And I think that, Matan and Ilan from Milio are an amazing example for a brilliant team that, can fight any challenge together. And also, I think that Matan is amazing in the way he drives the company to new horizons. So, those are people from my very immediate environment. And I must say that the more I know those friends of mine, the more I admire them. So definitely people that I take a lot of aspirations from, for sure.
Love it. You know that a lot of people, they immediately go for the for the really famous entrepreneurs. They go like Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey, but I love it how you mention people that you see day to day. So that's amazing.
I appreciate friendships, and I think that you can learn a lot from those amazing entrepreneurs you have around. So
yeah, love it. Any specific book that kind of influenced you throughout your life?
Yeah, well, I'm a reader, so there are lots of them. I'll mention three. Inspired: How to Build Products Customers Love by Marty Kagan. Marty was my advisor at Klarna and really helped me a lot on how to be the product management leader I am. Everything Muhammad Yunus is brilliant in my perspective. The concept of building social businesses. And also recently, I read a book called Switch from the Heath brothers that really speaks about how people change behavior, how to think about frameworks for behavior changing. And the Switch model really has become a core part of our service and product. So those are books that I, always go back to get inspiration and also effective tools.
Love it. So last question, and you talked about focus. So I think that should be part of the answer here. If you had to give one advice to young entrepreneurs, and you have so many experience, you've been in the NBA, and you're probably building RiseUp to also be an NBA team in the future. So what's the number thing you think young entrepreneurs need to focus on?
Identify the best skills you have and sharpen them further. I think that becoming extraordinary at something is super important. And when you are extraordinary at a certain type of skill, and you start understanding the interdependence with other people. So if you're really good at product management or product design, you understand that you are interdependent with an engineer. So this is the highest level of skill, being really good at something and understanding interdependence with other people. So as you understand that, you can build the team you need in order to make you focus on the most important skill that you need to bring to the game. So, this is what comes to mind. I think that sometimes people do a lot of different things and they do not have the right people that match them and kind of offset their weaknesses. I'm the type of guy that believes that you need to, sharpen the saw on certain skills and become, off the charts, great, world class in specific things and do them, day in, day out.
And basically delegate the others, delegate everything else,
bring them the right match to take the things that you are not really good at.
Love it. Yuval, thank you so much for taking the time for this interview. So much value. Really excited to see what you guys are up to next. And people, you guys can follow Yuval on LinkedIn. You guys can follow RiseUp on LinkedIn and Twitter. They've been running some really nice Twitter ads. I've saw them.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Omri.